Want the guap, want it very bad. Where I come from, that shit very bad.
Let's get straight into the reading. Let me change the category. So we're chapter 4 in part 2, the emanations. Okay, part 2, the emanations. Okay, we're in 2 or 3. I think we're in 3. We're in 3. Chapter 3. We just went through the cosmogonic cycle in the universal sense. Okay, so like they were just talking about the cycle of change over time in a universal sense. Okay, so they're basically saying that it just keeps repeating. In his cosmogonic cycle when he brought up the Jain religion, and he was basically saying their philosophy is that the earth will just get continually bad until it gets so bad that people are really short and they can't do shit, and then it will gradually get better again. Okay, so that's his comparison to the cosmogonic cycle, which is also a parallel to the hero's journey. By the way, wore the hero's journey tee today. We made this tee 2020. This is a 6-year-old shirt. DTG still going strong. Subscribe. Okay? Chapter 3, Out of the Void, Space. St. Thomas Aquinas declares, the name of being wise is reserved to him alone whose consideration is about the end of the universe, which end is also the beginning of the universe. Okay, they're affirming that cyclical nature right there. The name of being wise is reserved to him alone whose consideration is about the end of the universe, which end is also the beginning of the universe. The basic principle of all mythology is this of the beginning and the end. Creation myths are pervaded with a sense of the doom that is continually recalling all created shapes to the imperishable out of which they first emerged. Okay, so we're going like Phoenix. We're going Phoenix. Okay, think Phoenix, think butterfly. You know, think metamorphosis. Think reincarnation. Think that. All right. The forms go forth powerfully, but inevitably reach their apogee, break, and return. Mythology, in this sense, is tragic in its view, but in the sense that it places our true being not in the forms that shatter, but in the imperishable out of which they again immediately bubble forth. Mythology is eminently untragical. Indeed, wherever the mythological mood prevails, tragedy is impossible. A quality rather of dream prevails. True being, meanwhile, is not in the shapes, but in the dreamer. So essentially, there is no end, okay? Every end is just a beginning, okay? Every end is a new beginning. There is no tragedy because, you know, it brings forth new life, which is, how could that be tragic, right? True being, meanwhile, is not in the shapes, but in the dreamer. Okay, so think Shark Boy and Lava Girl, okay? Think Shark Boy and Lava Girl. As in Dream, the images range from the sublime to the ridiculous. The mind is not permitted to rest with its normal evaluations, but is continually insulted and shocked out of the assurance that now, at last, it has understood. Mythology is defeated when the mind rests solemnly with its favorite or traditional images, defending them as though they themselves were the message that they communicate. These images are to be regarded as no more than shadows from the unfathomable reach beyond, where the eye goeth not, speech goeth not, nor the mind, nor even piety. Like the trivialities of dream, those of myth are big with meaning. Okay, so basically we got people attaching themselves. I guess you could use like religion as something, as a thing of that, or even mythologies, you know, people attaching to themselves to these things to claim them as real. But he's saying that they're just basically ripple effects. Like it's not even the source. It's not even the rock that fell in. It is the ripple effect from the rock. We can't even see the rock. It's all the way deep in the water. All we see is the ripple effects, which are these myths. Okay. The first phase of the cosmogonic cycle describes the breaking of formlessness into form, as in the following creation chant of the Maoris of New Zealand. Tekor, the void. Tekor Tuatahi, the first void. Tekor Tuarua, the second void. Tekor Nui, the last void. Tekor Roa, the far extending void. Tekor Para, the Ser void. Tekor Wiwiya, the unpossessing void. Tekor Rawea, the delightful void. Tekor Temamawa, the void fast bound. Tepo, the night. Tepoteki, the hanging night. Tepoterium, the drifting night. Tepowawa, the moaning night. Hinemekmo, the daughter of troubled sleep. Teata, the dawn. Teatro Ra, the abiding day. Te'almarama, the bright day. Waitua, space. Okay. So this, okay, literally the formlessness into form. Okay, so this is apparently the process that happens, right? First void, well, you got the void in itself, then you got the first void, then you got the second void, then it expands even more, then it expands even more than that, and then I'm not sure what they mean by sear. Let's see. Dry or withered. Archaic. Okay. Okay, so less structure. There's not really structure. It's more form, no structure. Less structure. And then we got the unpossessing void. I guess that's something where it's like not attached. You know, it's not attached, but this is how it creates. This is the creation process, right? Then we got the delightful void. I guess it's being filled. This is like the filling process, you know, remember, this is all form. This is the process of form. Okay. The void fast bound, the night, the hanging night, the drifting night, the moaning night, the daughter of troubled sleep, the dawn, the abiding day, the bright day, and then you have space as form. So I guess this is everything essentially, right? So bang! In space were evolved two existences without shape, Maku, moisture, a male, Mahonura, Nui, Arangi, the great expanse of heaven, a female. From these sprang the heavens, a male, and earth, a female. They say Papa is the female. They say Papa is the female, that's funny. Rangi Potiki and Papa were the parents of the gods on some Gaia shit. From the void beyond all voids unfold the world-sustaining emanations, plant-like, mysterious. The 10th of the above series is night. The 18th, space or ether, the frame of the visible world. The 19th is the male-female polarity, The 20th is the universe we see. Such a series suggests the depth beyond depth of the mystery of being. The levels correspond to the profundities sounded by the hero in this world, fathoming adventure. They number the spiritual strata known to the mind introverted in meditation. They represent the bottomlessness of the dark night of the soul. The Hebrew Kabbalah represents the process of creation as a series of emanations out of the I am of the great face. We remember the great face to the side. The first is the head itself in profile, and from this proceeded 9 splendid lights. The emanations are represented also as the branches of a cosmic tree, which is upside down, rooted in the inscrutable height. The world that we see is the reverse image of that tree. Okay. According to the Indian Samkhya, philosophers of the 8th century BC, the void condenses into the element ether or space. From this, air is precipitated. From air comes fire. From fire, water. And from water, the element earth. With each element evolves a sense function capable of perceiving it, hearing, touch, sight, taste, and smell, respectively. So, I guess this is the point here. The void condenses into the element ether or space, okay? So the void is just infinite. It's too vast. It has to small into this element of ether, and then that creates the processes that go into each other that create the reality that we see today, okay? And each element has a sense function, right? Okay. The amusing Chinese myth personifies these emanating elements as 5 venerable sages who come stepping out of a ball of chaos suspended in the void. Before heaven and earth had become separated from each other, everything was a great ball of mist called chaos. And that time, the spirits of the 5 elements took shape and then developed into 5 ancients. The first was called the Yellow Ancient, and he was the master of earth. The second was called the Red Ancient, and he was the master of fire. The third was called the Dark Ancient, and he was the master of water. The fourth was called the Wood Prince, and he was the master of wood. The fifth was called the Metal Mother, and she was the mistress of metals. Now each of these 5 ancients sets in motion the primordial spirit from which he had proceeded, so that water and earth sank downwards, the heavens soared aloft, and the earth became fast in the depths. Then the water gathered into rivers and lakes, and the mountains and plains appeared. The heavens cleared, and the earth divided. Then there were sun, moon, and all the stars, sand, clouds, rain, and dew. The Yellow Ancient gave play to the purest power of the earth, and to this were added operations of fire and water. Then there sprang into being grasses and trees, birds and animals, and the generations of the snakes and insects, fishes and turtles. The Wood Prince and the Metal Mother brought light and darkness together, and thereby creating the human race as man and woman, thus gradually appeared in the world. Interesting. Out of the void space. Okay, so he's really on some macro. He's on a very macro. He's on a macro mission right now. Okay, which I think is important. I guess if we're relating it to just the universe and everything going on, very macro. But to be honest with you, I think he's just driving home the point of the cyclical nature. I think that's really it, the cyclical nature of these myths and how it relates to energy and consciousness and that cycle. Okay, I don't think we're taking any of this literally. Okay, I think we're taking it all metaphorically, even though the processes make sense, but it's like we're not constituting these as literal happenings. Okay, like these are the how he describes the myths. Like these are all how you say, like ripple effects. Like let's say the source itself is dropped in the water. Bloop. Right? All we see is the ripples. That's all we see. We can't see the rock. We cannot see the rock. We only see the ripples, and the ripples are these myths. Okay? Which is why he has to say so many myths, because it's like there's so many ripples, so many myths, so many ripples, so many, I guess you could say, interpretations of creation, the cosmogonic cycle, and such. Okay, so, and his point overall, the overarching point is that it's not that everybody's right, but I think it's not that everybody's right or everybody's wrong. It's the fact that it's like there is a parallel and there's a through line between all of these myths. And what does that mean for the average person? Like, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for me? And I think really it all comes down to the hero's journey, right? Good reads. That was good. That was good. That was good reads. That was good reads. Good reads. Check. Good reads. Facts. YouTube. See you later.